Welcome to the Practice You podcast. My name is Elena Brower. Together, we'll explore and enjoy content and conversations around mastering transitions. In our relations, our wellness, our careers, our families, and especially in our missions and visions. You are invited to learn and love and listen with me. Welcome to Practice You. This week's episode is with Glow.com founder Derik Mills. And for the last almost 10 years, I've been a teacher on Glow.com. It has been a great privilege to be a part of this evolution. I didn't come easily to this work. I needed some convincing. I didn't want to be on camera. And I finally relented when I figured out that behind that camera was a world of humans who didn't have access to local studios, who didn't have access to great teachers. And my interview with Derik was very insightful and heartwarming and a real learning experience for me. So I look forward to sharing him with you. And thank you for joining us today. Here is the sweet, sweet founder of Glow.com, Derik Mills. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have the great pleasure of sitting with a true visionary, a dear friend, and someone whom I can actually officially call my boss for almost the last 10 years. His name is Derik Mills, and he's the founder of Yoga Glow. And it is now called Glow. We will talk about that transformation today. We will talk about a lot of different transformations today, but the first thing I would like to talk about is your transformation. You've come a long way. When we first started, I'll never forget it, I was in my living room in Soho, and I was on the phone with Derik, and I hadn't met him yet, but I knew that a couple of my friends were on board with being with Yoga Glow, which was then called Yoga Glow, now called Glow. And I was not keen. I wasn't on board. And I needed a lot of convincing. I was like, no, I'm not going to be on some online yoga, whatever. And
yeah, I had to throw in everything I had for that pitch.
But the more you talked, I don't know what it was. It was such a good moment of trusting and listening to what your heart was trying to tell my heart, because it knew. And I did. And I met you a few weeks later, I remember, in LA at a party,
yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I saw you and your sneakers and your face, and I thought, okay, that's my guy. I'm in. I swear. I heard you talking. There was a level of assurance and safety that I felt with you that I was very pleased with and grateful for. So.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me.
I can't tell you how happy I am that I stayed with this, because we're sitting actually in my Yoga Glow office where all the teachers hang out. It's a beautiful lounge, actually. There's clothes hanging and a gorgeous couch and a rug and a table and all the things, a puja, a little altar and a fridge and a poof and fresh flowers from Derik's wife, Lisa, who is one of my absolute sisters and dearest friends now. And this is home for me. And it's been home for the last, how long has it been?
You know, I was going to look that up because I thought you might ask that question.
I love that neither one of us knows.
I think that first meeting might have been 2009, 2010.
I feel like it's been a decade.
That's my guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's stick with that. The trajectory of change that has happened digitally in the space since you started, I just want to point out that you really were the first to create a platform that involved high definition, high quality ways to view yoga online. And you were the first to also include a class setting that was sort of, I don't want to say codified, but it was a way that no one else had done yet. and has since, of course, been, mimicked often. How did that come to be? What exactly was the origin of this whole idea?
Well, let's just first acknowledge how badass you are. You've been filming for how many hours today?
Let's see. I've been filming for 5 hours today, and
Yeah.
it was all yoga, which I haven't done in quite some time.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, like she literally just came from the studio into the room that she referred to, which is technically our green room, but it's painted white. It's not green.
It's so good, though, in here with a skylight.
Yeah. So that
And
you
I'm
can,
still in my yoga clothes, by the way, which
Right.
you will never see.
so that you can shift from all those hours of intense thinking and teaching and transmission of what you do to this is powerful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for those kind words. I'm grateful that you, along with so many others, have believed in me and the vision and how we do things. And we place a lot of importance on the how.
Yes.
We do what we do. We don't always get it right. Far from it. But I love being in the struggle, and I love learning how to struggle better.
Yeah.
Continuously.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, we have to go all the way back to my senior year in college.
Where'd you go to school again?
I went to a small school up in Tacoma, Washington called the University of Puget Sound.
Oh, wow. It's so beautiful up there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful little campus and
Wow.
small liberal arts university.
Yeah.
I really needed that kind of personalized attention. Like I majored in chemistry, and for the Bachelor of Science, I did the research component. So I had my own lab for a whole year.
Wow.
And I had my own professor as my advisor for a whole year.
Wow.
So I really needed that intimate one-on-one focus. And so I was grateful to have that.
For sure.
But because it was a liberal arts university, I took a lot of philosophy. And this one course was on yoga philosophy. And I was just blown away by this material. We studied many of the books and texts that many people would study in a yoga teacher training.
Yeah.
But having the experience of like spending a whole week just on a chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, for example,
Wow.
it was just at that age and at that moment of impressionability and not knowing what I wanted to do with my life was huge, because the professor ended the class with this one question. And the question is, what do you want? Like, what do you want out of your life, out of your short time on this planet?
Oh, my goodness.
And he went around the room, and my answer, I'll never forget it, because that's the only notebook, besides some of my chemistry notebooks that I kept from back then. And I can still go back and I look to the line that I wrote, and I said that I want to maintain and cultivate my faculty of wonder.
Oh, my gosh. Derik, you were a senior in college.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful, so romantic, so everything.
But I didn't know what to do with that.
Now we know what to do, what you did with it.
Yeah, I basically set off on a 7-year journey around the planet and lived in different places, did a master's degree, met lots of different people.
What was your master's in?
I started in neuropsychology, and I switched to a master's in business.
Smart. And
to make a really long story short, because I know we don't have that much time together, I got to a point where I had a business prior to this.
Yes.
There was a lot that I wasn't doing. I felt there were so many aspects, so many dimensions of myself that weren't being exercised, that at 34, if I were to continue on that path, I would experience maybe those dimensions and aspects of self atrophying and not being put to use. And I knew that in order for me to even be in the realm of experiencing some kind of fulfillment in life, that I had to somehow bring all of those into a confluence and apply that all towards something that would be in service of something larger than myself. And I was going back to all the books from my teenage years to college, to journals, to at the time, I was constantly refreshing TechCrunch and Mashable. I was fascinated by what was happening in web technology, online video. This was early days, YouTube and Facebook.
This is what, 15 years ago?
This was 2007.
Right.
Yeah.
So 12.
And I was also driving a lot from Manhattan Beach to Santa Monica to go to yoga classes.
Oh.
And
Who were you studying with then?
I was covering the spectrum.
Got it.
But at this particular moment that I'm referring to, Vinny Marino.
Oh, my man. That's great.
I was a little addicted to that.
For sure.
That class.
For sure.
And I was often kind of late. And
late to class?
Yeah.
Did he let you in?
It depended. It depended on how many people were there. But I don't know what it's like now with him, but maybe it was a little more loose back then.
I wonder.
And
we should both just go and show up in his class one day.
That would be amazing.
We should do that. And
I was stuck on Lincoln Boulevard. For anyone who knows LA, Lincoln can be really backed up. And I just had this moment of frustration. I was thinking, God, why can't I just beam this class into my living room? And so I got to class. I couldn't wait to get back home to look it up to see if anyone was doing this. And when I got home, I discovered no one was doing it in the way that I had envisioned it.
Yes.
And to what you were alluding to is I wanted to create the experience of being in a real class at home. And I wanted for people at home to experience students who were also falling over, who were sweating, who were struggling.
Yes.
And I wanted to do it with teachers who were committed to their yoga as their art in a way that was congruent with how I had been exposed to yoga.
Yep.
And so what you and I would have experienced on that first phone call would have been a bit of my story and why this stuff is meaningful to me. And how, that whole arc from connecting to that first question of what do you want through to yoga ultimately being, the constant excavation of understanding like what do you want? And constantly being, committed to changing and evolving the way that we want. And so the challenge was, how do I bring together a whole spectrum of great teachers, not just asana, but also philosophy, and package that all into, one online experience. And what was fascinating was, I used whatever little money I had. I had, from my previous business, I had pretty large lines of credit through banks and credit cards. And I just put it all together, hired a few people, and it was a surreal experience. It was going to happen no matter what. The image that I have is that if you give a seed sufficient water, nutrients, ultimately sunlight, it's going to become what it's encoded to become. It has no choice. And that's what the experience was like. And it was incredibly surreal because I just dedicated everything and I put myself 100% into it. And it's been that way ever since day one.
Wow. So for the entrepreneur listening, it really can start from nothing. And this really did. We now are beaming into, hundreds of thousands of households every year?
Yeah.
That's fair to say. And I can say for myself that every time I walk through an airport, a foreign city, pretty much anywhere I land in the world, I am in some way stopped by some sweet soul who reports to me very often with tears in their eyes that I have been with them through their divorce. I've been with them through the death of their parent or their sibling or their child. I've been with them through some of the hardest times of their lives. And all because of Yoga Glow, these folks are having a better life, honestly. And it's just so impressive. Like, I really, truly am impressed with this story because I didn't know. I assumed erroneously that you had a bunch of money and you poured it into the equipment and boom, there we were. But no, in fact, it started from nothing.
Yeah. Constantly have been on the edge.
Wow.
Yeah. No safety net.
Wow. You can do it if you're listening and you're wondering if you should. That's our little message to you.
Yeah, I think the key is the convergence of ability, passion, and following that inner voice.
And you also focused, I would like to point out, on the teachers initially. You didn't just focus on, at the time there wasn't Instagram.
Right.
Facebook barely. And there wasn't a quote unquote following by which to measure the feasibility of a teacher. It was really just what was your barometer? What was your requirement?
For success?
For your teachers. Like,
I see.
Because what we all noticed is that you had a very specific vision about who was going to be teaching on this platform.
Yeah.
I was always and forever very honored to be chosen, but I'm curious to know what you were thinking.
Yeah. So just back to your earlier point before I go into that, you're right. The amount we receive almost daily, the feedback from people around the world. I mean, it's so special that you were there for our town hall yesterday, where you got to. We have a part of our town hall where, at the end, we read sections of or pieces of member love, we call them, and we get so much of that. And
so beautiful.
Like you said, the whole spectrum from you saved my life to you helped me be a better parent to I'm less reactive at work, helped me through an illness, a divorce, pregnancy. Yeah, it's really special.
So beautiful. And I have to say, just before you go on, that the town hall meeting where the entire staff gets together and sits in a circle on their chairs and convenes was so awesome. You do that every other week, you said?
Yeah.
Beautiful. I hope that I'm here for the next one.
That would be
amazing.
It was
an honor to be
there.
there.
It'd be great for you to do a Q&A.
I would die to do a Q&A
they would love
for them.
To hear from you.
Those are the people who are helping us get it. I get it out there.
Yeah. You know, on the teacher selection process, so back then I would also go to teacher classes. So I would spend more time with teachers, lunches, dinners.
Got it.
Deeper conversations. So even today, we don't look at certain metrics. Just because someone has a lot of followers on one social platform, it doesn't always equate to the things that people would think it should equate to.
Yeah.
And so what matters more for me is that when people experience our service, that they're having an experience that we know is due in large part to how a teacher will show up in the teaching.
Wow.
And so, a lot of that is like intuitive. A lot of that is kind of feel. A lot of that is like, how do I feel when I'm meeting a teacher? Like what moves you? What are you passionate about? Where do you see yourself in the next few years? Why do you teach? How do you maintain your learning? What are your influences? I mean, there's so many things I think that really contribute to how someone comes across, not just in a physical setting, but also in a digital environment that, through that medium, they are able to touch other humans. And not everyone has that gift.
Right.
Like you have that gift, like you, through whatever medium you choose to do, like you create that bond, you create that human connection, and people trust you on that journey. It's a very delicate, vulnerable journey often. And so, when I'm considering a teacher for our platform, like these are all of the things, all the different dimensions that I'm personally taking into account.
That is very, very good to know. There are so many wonderful, when I look through the teachers, and I take classes on the platform often, every week. And when I look through, I'm always so honored to be amongst this crew. So thank you.
Oh, we're honored that you're amongst the crew.
Yeah. The trajectory that we've taken now, I know we've moved offices, which was very fun and big. We used to be in one room, in one office with one computer. And we still actually record into one computer. That hasn't really changed.
I wouldn't call it a computer, but... Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. Into one database. You know what I mean? Shoot.
But
I
yeah, it's a
mean,
version of
but we went from like this one room where it was sort of the Wild West, and I would
Oh,
show up
yeah.
and we'd be like, all right, let's record like 5, 6, 10 classes today. Let's see how many we can do. Now it's fully planned out beforehand, and every single piece of content I'm so proud of, and I've worked on it for so long, and I really plan. I love this.
Yeah.
I love this change. Like, it makes me feel so good when they tell me, a month in advance, 2 months in advance, this is what we're looking for, and I get to deliver that precisely and in my way. I can't tell you how satisfying it is. And I get to also field some requests from people who want certain things, and I get to funnel that through and work with that too. The change that has gone on since we started from more class-based practices where people are in the room to fewer of those, I actually like. At first, I didn't like. At first, I was like, oh, I miss the sort of vibe of all the people. But then I started to realize, you know what? I get to be more intimate with the viewer in their home. And there's something very special about that. From your perspective, can you speak to the reason why you did that? Or is that something that's more sort of not even...
For sure. So yeah, what you're referring to is when we first started out, we were just turning on the camera and shooting whatever we would get, and sometimes even forgetting to turn on the camera.
That only happened to me twice.
You weren't the only one. And that evolved into, I not many people know this, but I did all of the non-social media customer support by myself for the first 4 years.
I remember that.
Yeah. I got to the point where my brother and my wife said, it's either hire someone or some people for this role, or we're going to commit you to some institution.
Yeah. What was beautiful about that, though, I remember seeing you doing that all day, and I remember thinking, oh my God, this is a true entrepreneur, a true visionary, this person cares so deeply about the people that he's serving. And it was such a joy to be part of it in the early days.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know you saw that back then. That means a lot to me. But
remember, you were sitting in the side room, always with your laptop. So sweet you are. Oh my God. Just working so diligently always.
But why I bring it up is it pertains to your question in that a lot of our feature development, particularly back then, was a function of what people were wanting, the pain points, feature requests, changes in the product experience. But we also got a lot of content requests as well. So early on, that was one way to start to begin to optimize the content portfolio. And then, and then that evolved then into data. So then data started to help inform, because once we've produced, I think we've produced well over 10,000 videos.
So it's 9,612 as of today. That was my last one, because we slate everyone. And I told Courtney to please let me know when you're getting close to 1,111, because I want to take that one.
But I don't think that includes like courses, videos, and
I'm okay with that. It's just the slating.
Yeah. No,
but yeah,
cool.
If you include courses, it's well over 10,000.
Yeah,
obviously.
And I think right now they're only around 4,000 on the platform.
Correct.
4,000-ish. And the reason for that are varied, but we're constantly tracking what's working, what's not working.
Yeah.
And so the evolution has involved, both like anecdotal data, quantifiable data, and part of that shift also involved switching from some of the more, like you said, public-facing content where we have students in the room, to content that was just one-on-one with the camera, which is what you're referring to, and then also using that as an opportunity to bring in more cameras. So like some of the shooting you were doing today, I think had 4 or 5 cameras in the room.
We had 1, 2, 4.
And some people like one versus the other.
Right.
It really depends.
Right.
Some people go to both. We find that it depends on what people are needing in the moment. And that is something that we're really focused on. Like, how do we meet you where you are at your particular moment in time?
Yeah.
And, that's once you consider teacher style, level, duration, specific use categories, body parts, et cetera, like that content matrix then starts to become incredibly multidimensional. And so to water all of those different dimensions all the time, person X might like teacher Y, but only enjoys taking that particular teacher's style at level 2 for 30 minutes. And so
interesting. Yeah.
you multiply that then across all the different need states that all people have.
Right.
And to figure out like which combinations to continuously water is, not an easy task.
No.
And
I even today recorded a couple of 90-minute classes by myself.
yeah.
I'd never done that before.
Wow.
And it was beautiful. I mean, I had 2 amazing practices. My body feels incredible, but it's something without people in the room. And it was really me and the future viewer crossing time. There was it was so interesting and beautiful. I happen to love it.
Yeah. And stuff like that. Like we're always testing different things too. So sometimes it doesn't always work out.
Let's see.
Yeah. I think this will work out though.
I enjoyed it so much. I hope that my people do too. So just a couple last questions.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know kind of where, when you talk about the data, where you see the feedback leading into the future. I don't even know if you can speak about that, but I'm so curious to know, like, where's it all going?
Yeah. So, ultimately, and to go back to the beginning of the conversation, I am passionate about a future world state where we all live our true potential. Like if you take all of that yoga philosophy stuff and boil it down to that, it's about tapping into what it means to be on that constant journey of listening to that inner calling and living into one's true potential.
Yeah.
Not someone else's potential that's been imposed upon you.
Right.
Not the potential that is adversely influenced by intrinsic or extrinsic circumstances.
Right.
And then ultimately to provide those intelligent tools that challenge people to live a fulfilling life. So that's our mission and vision. And the way we're positioning ourselves is to, in the same way that we are aiming through, currently somewhat rudimentary ways to meet someone on their terms in their particular moment, how do we just push that out orders of magnitude in terms of personalization? I think the future will be, technology will know better than us
Right.
what we should or would want to consume.
Next.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the future that I'm setting us up for.
Got it.
There's a lot more to that, but I don't want to give away.
Sure.
I don't want to give away the secret sauce.
No, I'm sure. I will say that, I still have yet to find and see another platform that has accomplished what you, dare I say, we have accomplished
For sure.
as beautifully as we have.
Yeah.
And that's something. And I'm very picky.
Thank you. That means a lot because I know you're connected to a lot of people.
I get
You
asked
see a lot.
often,
Yeah.
and I'm always just, no, can't do it. Sorry. I like it here.
But and that's just not asana and meditation. There's
everything.
There's so much more
Yeah.
that falls under that umbrella of what someone might need
Yeah.
in a particular moment that will help inform what it is they do along their health and wellness journey,
And how they parent and how they're, treating their spouse and
all of that.
how they take care of their aging parents.
Yeah.
I'm so proud to be a part of this. I don't have any other questions, but I'm curious to know if you have anything that you would like to share, because a lot of the folks listening to this podcast are users of Yoga Glow, lovers of Yoga Glow, and are happy to know you, happy to get to know you.
That's a great question.
If you have anything, you can always think of it later, and I can include it in the show notes too.
Can I have a moment?
Yes, you could take a long moment. And I'll say that for those of you that don't know about Yoga Glow, which is now called Glow, GLO, edifying.com. This is one of, if not the foremost platform for practice online, meditation, philosophy, asana, also lifestyle. And I have to, I'm going to tell you a little secret, which is that I'm going to be doing little promotional pieces on this podcast for glow.com, and I don't want to be paid. And this is going to be a part of my way to give back to you so that people really know about it and start to use it, because it's been of such benefit to myself and to my family.
Nice. I mean, these last 10 years, I've learned more about myself than I ever would have, I think, going down any other path. Something that's really fresh for me right now is, intellectually, I've always been fascinated by the human shadow, the bag of stuff that we put into a bag. Douglas recently turned me on to Robert Bly, the little book,
Yes.
Human Shadow.
So this is Douglas Brooks we're referencing right now, was my first philosophy teacher, rajanaka.com, rajanaka.com.
I'm just personally in a fascinating space right now where it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to tap into aspects of self that are typically hidden or not wanting to have revealed to others, and to do so in my role and my position. I'm seeing such incredible benefit from not trying to force others to change, but rather to change myself. And in so doing, recognizing more and more of those moments where, and I'm not talking just all moments. I think practicing extending the space between being triggered and reflexively acting, I think it's something that I've been practicing for many years.
Yeah.
But the moments when it's most high stake, when like the core aspects of that which does not want to be seen, or that which I do not want to reveal to others, there are some moments that are more high stakes than others, right?
For sure.
And in those moments where I've just come to a point of realization that some things just weren't working for me, and it's almost a similar kind of moment that I was in 10 years ago, where there was this fierce urgency of now to create the conditions for this company to manifest and ultimately move into some realm of its own self-actualization. I'm kind of going through another version of that.
I get it.
Of myself right now at 45, and almost a little embarrassing actually to say that it's taken this long.
No,
But
this is the time.
It's a fascinating moment, and it's all still a little new for me.
Yes.
Like the image that comes to mind is like, in these certain moments, maybe I was like a hardened ball of clay, whereas through the work that I've been doing on myself, I'm now a little bit more like this soft, mushy clay that is more malleable and more open to showing up in a different way. And in the moments where it is most high stakes, and not acting in a way that will ultimately be so fierce that it shuts people down, but does the opposite and creates opportunity for curiosity and openness and learning. And it's just a fascinating moment for me, and I can already see just how powerful that is in terms of how it's affecting those around me. And I'm so grateful to be in the heart of this experience where I get to practice that. It's just
As a matter of course, it's a part of your job.
Right. How lucky is that?
I get it.
That's what I'm trying to say. Right.
I will say that walking around here, this trip, I was here last month, and I was here also very recently in the last year, and walking around here this particular time, I feel like there's a cohesiveness to the entire crew that I have never seen.
That's part of what I'm getting at.
I get it.
Yeah.
So your willingness to be vulnerable, I even feel it's coming off you. Your willingness to be vulnerable is actually changing the entire culture of the company.
Yeah.
So nice. So important. If you're listening, your assignment is to write down where and with whom you could be a little more vulnerable right now, today. And what would that benefit look like in the ideal? That's a good way to leave everybody, I think. Before we go, I just realized that I didn't ask Derik the 3 questions, which ideally I'll ask everybody, but sometimes I don't. The first question is, what needs healing right now in your life or in your space?
Physically, about a year ago, I started feeling this pain in my back. Turned out to be a herniated disc, which I realized after starting back up with therapy and doing some other powerful work on myself, probably also stems from other unresolved issues and pent-up anger and frustration. And so that's the physical healing. Emotional healing is releasing perfectionism, releasing control over outcome.
Yeah.
Like in a variety of domains of my world at the moment.
Yeah.
Lisa and I, we've been going through a long fertility journey, and that's been kind of a profound evolutionary consideration of what I expected for my journey, and just releasing a lot of the expectations around that in terms of outcome, and being open to the flow of how it will evolve for us in the way that ultimately will be the best outcome for us, regardless of outcome.
Yes.
Has been a pretty profound little journey for me.
Yes. We've all been there for that one.
Yeah.
What is your favorite view?
I have a couple come to mind.
Yes.
My wife.
I
Lisa.
do. I love her so much. She brings me chocolate.
Sometimes she smiles at me with this beaming light of joy, where it's as if all of a sudden the meaning of life and all the secrets of the universe are just revealed in that beaming smile. And I literally, when I'm experiencing it, I'm thinking she probably experiences a version of joy that I just might not ever know.
No, you're gonna know it. You're gonna know it.
I mean, it's really special.
It is so special. Oh my goodness, you made me cry. I picture, just so you know, as a matter of course, I picture your baby in my arms often on your behalf.
It's gonna happen.
Yes, it is.
I just pulling up to a deserted Point Break surf with the sun shining off the palm trees and the sun glittering off of the water, offshore winds. That's a direct line into play for me. That's amazing.
That's a good one too.
And then, another fascinating view, like I was saying earlier, is that moment between being triggered and acting and responding.
Wow.
Like that's a view into just these packets of encoded information that there's so much information in that moment.
Yep.
That it's to say it's my favorite view would be a stretch, because it's often a painful and difficult and hard view.
Yes.
But to stack up those views over time, and to stack up alteration and change of behavior in those moments is that's where some of the most growth happens for me.
That is very well said. The last question, what does prayer mean to you?
Prayer, like I said earlier, that the listening of that to that inner voice, the stirrings within, the inner calling. And I don't think of prayer as I don't link prayer to like religious prayer. I mean, it has almost a little bit of I have a little bit of a visceral aversion to it based on some early childhood experiences of church.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the prayer, I think what you're getting at for me is more that inner calling. Like the Our Glow manifesto starts off
Yes.
with, to you, the seeker, you listen to your inner calling to nurture wonder and curiosity, to illumine your mind, inspire your heart with courage to kindle the fire on a journey of self-discovery. That's how our manifesto starts.
You're a poet. I had no idea. I've read it a few times. You wrote that.
To say that I wrote it alone would not be completely accurate,
I
but
see.
it went through versions where I definitely, it wouldn't have happened without me.
It's very beautiful. And now we have it on the wall here at the office, and it's just stunning. Okay. Thank you again.
Thank you, Lena.
For being the best boss ever. ever. And thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this. And it's a great thing that you're doing.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.